Hello everybody, it is of course me, the Invertebrarian. Thank you for coming and joining us here today on the channel. If you are new, please do consider subscribing, and if you're already subscribed, then you're absolutely friggin' fantabulously, deliciously fantastic. So before we get started, today's video is brought to you thanks to my Patreon supporters. Thank you to every single one of you that supports my channel through Patreon. If you are a Patreon supporter and I haven't already, I believe I've messaged you all anyway, but if I haven't, please get in touch and I will send you out some stickers and some pin badges should you wish to do so. But thank you ever so much to all of you for your continued support, and as I say, this video is hugely thanks to you guys. Before we get into that, of course, Fatal Fangs 3 is coming very, very soon. What have I been up to? Well, I've been up to a bit of this, a touch of that, a splash of this, and a wee dash of that, and an incy wincy tiny little bit of this. All will be explained, or some of it will be explained in an upcoming video. But anyway, on with today's Patreon video. As many of you know, I've spoken many times about the yin yang aquatic snaily setups we have back here. Well, as promised, I have added to the tank. So this has been a number of additions, should I say, to the tanks. The first one, this happened. So those additions were nerite snails, zebra nerite if I recall, but I think they're labelled as something else in the shop. I can't actually quite remember. Sadly, after roughly about 48 hours of leaving them, obviously we did the conditioning, and then we popped them in, and one immediately was very active, and the other, sadly, after 48 hours, appeared to be gone. So I got in touch with the shop, and we took that one back and we exchanged it and added a few more additions. Now, nerite snails, unlike the ram's horn and many other snail species, are not hermaphrodite. Now, a hermaphrodite is when a individual carries the male and female reproductive genitalia organs. Whereas with nerite snails, there are male snails and there are female snails, but sexing them is incredibly difficult. So I was originally hoping for a pair, but as I say, one sadly had passed away. So we took them back to the shop. We took that one back to the shop and we exchanged them for another species of nerite snail, which I added 2 of, and something else. So let's have a wee look at them. So they are tiger nerite snails, but in the shop they were called like onion nerite snails or red onion nerite snails. And the other one, the stripy one, might actually be a spotted nerite. I will double check the exact species and update you as and when. What else did we add? Well, in this tank here are African dwarf frogs, or sometimes known as clawed frogs, but I think they get kind of mixed up within the hobby. The reason I wanted to add them in was a kind of control measure. Now in this tank here, all around the top here are gajillions, gajabillions of tiny baby snails. Now obviously I wanted to control the populations somehow, so these little froggies will pick off tiny little ones. They're predominantly bottom feeders and will be provided bloodworms, but just to help control the population to a certain amount, we've introduced the clawed frogs, dwarf frogs, into one of the setups. The other setup is completely free of any predators, but I wanted to add a control measure into one of the tanks just to prevent a huge build-up of this. As you can see, this tank is rife with babies, tiny little babies all about the place. So yeah, as you can imagine, having two tanks with this number of snails could be problematic if I don't have a outlet for them. Hey, stripy dude. So yeah, that's why I wanted to introduce a control measure into one of the tanks, just to try and help avoid, I mean, just look at all those egg casings along the back there. So yeah, that's a lot of babies. So yeah, we've introduced a control measure into one of the tanks. Babies still will produce in there and grow, but there won't be quite as many. So yeah, that's what we've done. And just when you think it really couldn't have got any more awesome than it already has, thanks to my Patreon supporters, we have added more into one of the tanks. Obviously it's not this one, that's a control measure tank. So in this one we have our African clawed dwarf frog swimmers, and bladder snails and ram's horn snails. And this one so far we've introduced the striped or zebra nerite snails. We have the tiger nerite snails. We have our ram's horns breeding like absolutely crazy. And as I say, nerite snails are males. They have males and they have females, whereas ram's horn snails are hermaphrodite, meaning each snail has the capacity to breed. But anyway, what else did we add to the tank? Well, there was two more additions, but one was a duo and one was a singular. So let's have a look at them, because they're just awesome. Aren't they just absolutely awesome? And that little orange snail is the damn cutest thing I've ever seen. But yeah, thank you ever so much to all my Patreons. I've wanted to build on these tanks for quite some time, and thanks to you guys and your donations, I've kind of been saving up for a wee while. Has allowed me to add these absolutely incredible additions. Nerite snails will breed, but the eggs have to be removed to brackish waters and able to be successfully hatch out and have baby snails. That's maybe something we could look towards on the assumption that we might have a male and a female in there, but we don't know. Again, Fatal Fangs is coming very, very soon. I think it's Wednesday the 28th, I think it is, of April. It's just commencing Wednesday. Anyway, the first round of Fatal Fangs will go live. I have a wee video on behalf of the Exotic Pet Enclosure Designs group coming up for you, which is super duper lifts, and hopefully we'll explain some of that stuff that you saw way back at the beginning of this shandang. And what else? Yeah, just thank you so much again to all my patrons. If I haven't already, or well, I have, but if you haven't responded, if you are a patron, please get in touch with me and I will happily send you out some pin badges and some stickers, just as a way of saying thank you ever so much for me to you. But anyway, yeah, thank you. Let me know what you think of all our new additions into the Yangi setup. Although, anyway, yeah, we'll do an update. That's it. Thank you and goodbye from me. Please do like, comment, share, and subscribe. Pop your comments down below and I will respond to them the best I can and when I can. Thank you so much and goodbye.